Okay, let's jump right in. Just imagine it for a second. The sounds, the smells, that incredible energy of a marketplace that's been around for centuries. We're talking about the souk. For so many of us, it's this magical place of treasure and discovery. But today, we're going to look at its two faces, the glittering one we all see and the one that's kind of hidden in plain sight.
So, here's our game plan. We'll start with that romantic, alluring idea of the souk and see how it plays out in modern Dubai. But then we're going to peel back the layers. We'll uncover a hidden supply chain, track the flow of some really high-risk gold, and look at its very real, very human cost before we put it all back together and rethink what we're actually looking at.
You know, the very idea of a souk or a bazaar probably brings these amazing images to mind, right? Winding alleyways, these huge pyramids of colorful spices, the glint of handcrafted goods everywhere you look. It just feels ancient, authentic, and totally alive with history.
And you know what? That feeling is absolutely spot on. For centuries, the bazaar wasn't just a place to go shopping. It was the social and economic heart of the city. I mean, everything happened here. It was like the original town square, the news hub, and the engine of commerce, all rolled into one incredible place. And this is not some new thing. The history goes way, way back. From market established by the Prophet Muhammad himself in Medina to these grand, purpose-built structures in Baghdad, and then, of course, the sprawling, covered bazaars sponsored by the Ottoman Empire. Think of Istanbul's famous Grand Bazaar. These places are literally woven into the fabric of history.
All right, let's fast forward to today. Now, when you think of a modern souk experience, chances are your mind jumps straight to Dubai. Its famous gold and spice souks are a massive, massive draw for tourists from every corner of the globe. And part of the fun is the interaction itself. Like this visitor says, it's not like walking into a regular store. It's a dance, it's a game. Haggling isn't just allowed, it's expected. It's this personal, direct connection between you and the seller, a tradition that makes the whole thing feel more like a genuine experience than just a transaction. So what are people buying? Oh, the list is just intoxicating. You've got these exotic spices like sitar and Aleppo pepper, strange and wonderful things like dried black lemons, fragrant whole nutmeg, and then, of course, the jewelry. We're talking endless displays of glittering gold. It's a complete sensory overload, in the absolute best way possible.
But let's just pause here for a second. In the middle of all that glitter, it is so easy to get swept away, but we have to stop and ask the question. In a market of this incredible scale, where does all of this gold actually come from?
And to answer that, we really need to turn to the work of investigative groups. A deep dive report by The Century paints a far more complicated picture of the gold trade, one that starts thousands of miles away from the bustling, beautiful souks of Dubai.
So this is where we have to talk about something called conflict gold. This is gold that's mined in regions torn apart by armed conflict, and it's sold specifically to keep that fighting going. Its journey from the mine to the marketplace is a story of smuggling, of concealment, of a deeply hidden supply chain. And the scale of this, it's just staggering. According to The Century, we're talking about over $3 billion worth of gold, much of it high risk, flowing out of East and Central Africa every single year. We are not talking about a small-time operation here. This is a massive international industry.
So here's how it's done. Gold from conflict-ridden countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, South Sudan, it's first smuggled across the border into neighboring countries, say Uganda or Rwanda. That simple act of crossing a border helps to wash its origins, to obscure where it really came from, before it gets shipped off to its main destination, Dubai.
Which, of course, brings us to the most important question of all. Why Dubai? What is it about this one city that makes it the primary hub for an estimated 95% of all the gold coming out of this entire region?
Well, the data tells a really interesting story. Just look at these trade numbers from 2018. Uganda officially produced about 3 tons of gold, but the UAE imported nearly 30 tons of gold from Uganda. Rwanda produced less than half a ton, but the UAE imported over 18 tons. I mean, these huge gaps are a massive flashing red flag for smuggling. That gold is clearly coming from somewhere else. So how is this even possible? Well, according to the Century's investigation, it comes down to specific regulatory loopholes. Things like weak customs checks for gold that's literally just hand-carried on a plane.
A real lack of oversight in the souks themselves, the fact that you can make massive transactions in cash, and poor oversight of the polices that refine the gold. All of it comes together to create the perfect storm, the perfect environment for laundering high-risk gold. And let's be crystal clear, this isn't just about financial rules or trade statistics. This trade has a devastating, real-world human cost. The profits from this conflict gold go directly into the pockets of people and groups committing horrific acts of violence. This is how the dots connect. The gold trade helps fund groups like the Rapid Support Forces in Sudan, who've been implicated in killing civilians. In the DRC, it fuels militias responsible for massacres and for using child soldiers. The money from this gold buys the weapons and sustains the conflicts that absolutely destroy lives. And look, this isn't just speculation. The United Nations is completely unequivocal on this. For the armed groups in the eastern DRC, which is a hotbed of violence, conflict gold is their single largest source of revenue. It is, quite literally, the fuel for the fire. So, let's bring this all back to where we started, that vibrant, glittering, beautiful souk. We've just heard two completely different stories about the exact same place. One is a story of romance and history, the other is a story of conflict and crime. And this really puts it side by side, doesn't it? On one hand, the tourist sees a vibrant, ancient marketplace. On the other, the investigator sees a #1 destination for conflict gold. One person sees a fun place to haggle for a bargain, the other sees a hub where loopholes allow for money laundering. It's such a powerful reminder that the story we see on the surface is almost never the whole story. So what's the bottom line here? The glitter of the gold in the souk is absolutely undeniable, but so is the shadow it casts. It forces us to think a little more critically about the things we buy and the hidden journeys they might have taken. And it really just leaves us with a question to think about. The next time you're in any marketplace, anywhere in the world, what story will you look for?